Welcome to the Ideal Investor Show. This is the podcast where we help you challenge your mindset and discover where you are. Tired of stories about other people's success? We can help you change your life, determine your time freedom point, and join us on the journey to financial success. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ideal Investor Show. Today we continue our series talking about what are all the things to consider and what are the things I believe that you should be aware of. And I'm not sure if you have actually wondered about them, checked about them, have actually sat down about them when it comes to striving for early retirement. And as you know, the title of our show, the name of our show is the Ideal Investor Show, the Path to Early Retirement. And so the second installment that I want to give you in this context is for you to ask yourself, how soon do you actually want to retire? Or let's put it the other way, what age do you want to put on the calendar? So what I mean by that is if you, let's say you're 32 years old right now and you say, I want to be retired at 45. Or if I say how soon, then you would say in 13 years from now. Right? And so you take your current age, then you think about at what age do I want to be retired? And ideally, if you want to really go for early retirement, that age would be before 65 or 67. And that gives you the number of years. And why is this important? Because we have to kind of take a look and say how much ultimately is necessary in income every month so that we don't have to go to work anymore. This begs the other question. If you have, let's say, said, okay, I give myself 13 years. From today until 13 years in the future, that's the day or the date on the calendar when I want to retire early. Now, if you listen to our previous episode, how much your current expenses are, and maybe you actually found a few things where you could say, okay, I can get rid of this and I don't need this anymore and I don't need 5 different subscriptions for TV and stuff like that. Or maybe you got some cheaper insurance policies or things like whatever you have found out. And if you were to work with us in our community, we would obviously help you to go through this stuff and identify options. But it's really an individual thing. Just because I might say, I don't need this and I don't need that, for you, it might be a necessity. So it, in that sense, becomes really an individual custom thing where you say, this is what I need to have a comfortable life. Now, the other part about it is not everybody defines early retirement in the way that if you have a job right now that takes you 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, that early retirement means you have to go down to zero. Obviously, a lot of people make that assumption right off the bat, but it's not necessarily a rule. And if you've been listening to the media, to the economists, you're reading stuff, books or otherwise, that our economy in the last 10 years has significantly changed from what was very traditional. People go to work and they spend basically 8, 9, 10 hours at work and then they come home, to an economy that has that option and probably 100 other options where you can work from home or you can work half-time or you can work in some sort of a gig that is only requiring you to be there a limited amount of time and all kinds of variations. So if you take your current situation and you're assuming or you're knowing that you're currently employed and you're spending, let's say, 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours a week in that job, for the time that you retire, this early retirement point, does that really mean that you would not do anything at all anymore in some dependent way? And I'm not saying, are you going to reduce your job to half-time? That would be one of the options. But you might say, one of the things I always wanted to do is A, my current job is B, but if I were to do A and I would make a little bit of money doing A, it would take me 10 hours or 15 hours or 20 hours a week, right? And so if that's the case, if that's you, then those 10, 15, 20 hours a week also make some income. So when you do your calculation of how much do you realistically really need to have in cash flow from your retirement stash, so to speak, from your investments, keep in mind that you might plan on not going down to 0 hours. So where 100% of what you need to live comfortably has to come from investments. If you want to be conservative, if you ask my opinion, I would say, well, why don't you plan for that? If 100% of what you need can be covered by your investments and you still have some additional income on the side, that's fine. Then you just splurge a little. or if the situation emerges in, let's say, 10 years from now, that you have identified something that you really like to do for 10 hours a week and it makes a certain amount of money, that might mean that instead of having to wait 13 years, you might be done in 10 or 11 years to start your early retirement. So those are some of the options, but it's really important to have an idea of how much is it actually that you need by when. Right, and you now know from episode 1 how much are your expenses, so those need to be definitely covered in some way or another. And now you know how many years do you have ahead of yourself. So in my little example, that was 13 years. In your case, might be 14, 15 years, or might be less. But that's an important thing to be aware of, so we can go to step 3 in the next episode. That's it for today. Be well and stay safe, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.